Have spent, as you were just told, quite a few years in advertising, so coming here is almost like coming home for me. But as I have been listening to all this and what I have been doing in the years ahead, gives me a sense of restlessness and also an anxiety, and for a reason which I'll just explain. We talk about individual ads, we pass judgment about these ads, we say it's good and it's bad. But there have been good ads and there have been bad ads. And as we were just told, even in the West, there are ads which are absolutely crazy, but it's there. The big question is, can one award-winning campaign or an ad or two change mindsets? Things have been like this for quite a few years. Perhaps with more television channels coming in, things have changed. You see them more often, and therefore, it's more in the face. What could be a bigger campaign than what we saw at Jantar Mantar the last few months? Unfortunate thing that happened, but it got a whole lot of people together. But the question is, where has that campaign gone today? We have some people talking about it. And I am rather sad to say that even in don't quote me on that, even in the UN, when we go and talk to the others who were supposed to be working on this and taking that issue forward, they said, right now we are working on trafficking. So they've moved on. Life is just where it was. So what can a campaign do is the big question. So what I would like to do here is not get into the nitty-gritties of what makes a good ad or a bad ad. That's for you to judge and figure out. But try and illustrate with some perhaps somewhat unrelated data that before we rush into making that so-called award-winning campaign, we need to do what we call creative planning or account planning, figure out that why so many years of communication, because ads may not have been there, but in the sector, there have been 1,001 workshops, literature being circulated around. Now, if that has been there, why has the child sex ratio kept plummeting? Something there is not happening right. So perhaps before we rush into that, we need to figure out what we are doing wrong. So there are lots of questions and we have lots of answers. We have talked about getting those kinds of ads out. Some people said, no, those ads are better. Fine, those are answers. Those are answers we know. We know that we need to reach out to the doctors. We know that we need to do something with the parents, etc., etc. But if we did have the answers, then perhaps we would have been doing things right now. But I think it's time we looked at how do we question those answers. I'll start with this visual here. We have talked about a lot of ads that we have seen. But one, it wasn't a campaign, it was a single ad that, believe it or not, was created by DAVP in, I think it was Orissa, where they said that if you need to reach out to people on a subject like gender, then we need to have a spokesperson that they can relate to. And their logic was that if we are talking to an agrarian India where a whole lot of people live in villages, they work on their farms, then we need to have someone who is basically the person they see there in the field every day. So their answer was, and this campaign worked, or so I'm told, that let's have a Kisan, a farmer. Now, apart from the people who have seen that ad, let's have a quick 1-minute round of trying to visualize what that spokesperson, that Kisan, looked like. Any suggestions? What would that have Kisan look like? I'll show you the ad after that. Let's see how close you are to that. Perfect, sir. There was no mustache, but yes, turban. Yes. Any other suggestion? Dhoti, great. So dhoti, turban, mustache. Oh, lovely. I mean, okay, fine. And what else? Okay, since I've been given, very soon I'll have a hand raised there, so I'll cut that here. And I will give you one interesting fact. First of all, this campaign never wasn't there. It was just to get these answers. But if you add the number of hours spent by people in their farms and fields, around 70% of the time is spent by women. But when you close your eyes and think of a kisan, what we think of is a man. So, ladies and gentlemen, are they the primary audience? Are we the primary audience right now when we are working on our campaign? I think we really ourselves need to understand what gender is all about. I'm not saying that we need to become absolutely sanitized. I mean, people have pointed that out. I mean, a certain amount of humor comes from these double meaning lines. We all watch 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory and all that, but I mean, we can't go away from that. But at the moment, if we don't really understand what gender equality or biases are, then how can we work on a campaign that may win awards, but will it really change mindsets? We have been told time and again, and data proves it, that sex selection happens more in urban, educated areas of Delhi, Bombay. But the latest census has shown that it's gone far beyond. It's gone into rural India, it's gone into tribal India, it's gone into poor households. So it's no longer the same logic working. And we go and make campaigns. By we mean whoever needs to get into that space, and mostly it's the government. Those campaigns we never get to see because, anyway, they're not worth seeing. And they talk to them about something called Beti Bachao. I hate that mnemonic, but it says Beti Bachao. And they talk about being a good father, a good mother, etc., and making sure that you love giving birth to a girl child. So that campaign goes out. And here we have one real life girl. And any guess about who the husband is out here? All of them? Huh? You're quite right. All of them. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that this girl, I mean, I'm not talking about the story about trafficking behind that, child marriage, etc., but the fact that out here, the reason that all three are married to one girl is not because, or only because they don't want to have a girl, or someone didn't want to have a girl there, but because they don't want to split their property. So the planners, before they get into campaigns, need to look at many such underlying realities and figure out what is the trigger or what are the obstacles that are making people not see the logic as you're showing them. So, I mean, I have seen a dozen such ads which says there'll be no, I mean, there are villages in Gujarat and Punjab where there are no girls left to marry. But if the reasons are different, then perhaps we are talking the wrong language to the wrong people. One good story, Himachal Pradesh. Everyone keeps saying that the child marriage numbers are much better than others. Very few girls get married young there. The child sex ratio numbers are very good. So we are all very happy. And we say, fine, there are some places in the country where things are better. And we try and model our communication, at least our workshops that we do in the sector, on the so-called case study of Himachal Pradesh. But strangely, no one gets to figure out or doesn't want to know that when I've got these figures, which I would like to share with you, if I can find them here. Yeah, there. That in Himachal, as people already mentioned, when the first kid is born, they are okay with whether it's a girl or a boy. But when the second one is born, and if the first one is a girl, then the chances of the second not being a boy are very, very low. So, the so-called great state is perhaps not all that great. There are underlying currents. But what I want to flag here for the creative people and the planners when they work on it, that there are two issues or two sides to the coin. One is son preference, the other is daughter aversion. Now we need to understand what is more dominant, because the logic you use for both will be very different. This one is what we do all the time, and we think we have done a great work. And even in the way we talk at home, we don't expect men or boys to be great tennis stars or be a prime minister of a country or go into space. But when it comes to women, we always say that you need, kya ye Sania Mirza banegi, kya ye koi aur banega? Which means that for a woman, for a girl, to find her status in society, she can't be that nice, normal girl next door. She needs to be someone who is like a Sania Mirza. Now, why this inequality? Here I turn back to the work we have been doing for several, I wouldn't say several years, decades. We have felt that the doctors need to be spoken with. And here we are talking about communication, may not have been mass media communication, but workshops, one-to-one work far better than mass media, because you get time to sit and take that person through the entire logic of why he or she shouldn't go in for sex-selective services. And we've spoken with doctors, we have done great work with doctors. All the logic that we have been talking about has been used left, right, and center. And here we see the city of Nagpur, where incidentally and interestingly, some of the biggest doctors who headed IMA, the Indian Medical Association, and Foxy, the big networks, are all from. And these people are the biggest advocates against sex selection. But strangely, when a small survey was done amongst medical families, what they found is absolutely horrific. They found that amongst medical families, if you can call them that, the child sex ratio is lower than the country's average. If the first child is a male, then it is just marginally, it's marginally in favor of the girl. First child being female, it drops to 519, and if both are female and they have a third child, it's 455. Point to note here is that we keep thinking that this entire thing of using fear, using gory campaigns, having blood and fetuses will work. But it's not working. If it's not working with them, then let's not think that it may make you win awards. But please, before we get into any campaign, let's figure out what we are doing wrong. This is an important part of the conversation which we quite often miss. In our eagerness to come up with, I'm sorry, I was purposely not looking your way. Okay. Was that the first time or second? Good. Okay. This is an example, but we need to, if we are working on this and we're talking about rights, we need to figure out that when we work on one campaign, it shouldn't, or one communication tack, it shouldn't impinge upon something else. For instance, today, and we should be proud about that, that we are amongst some countries in the region where every woman has the right to safe and legal abortion. Now, we can keep debating about whether that's right or wrong, but that's a fact, and we are all proud of. But when we talk about female feticide and sex selection and other things, we should not do it in such a way that there's a stigma to abortion per se, and they go into the backstreet abortion centers, and many of them come out with a huge problem. So we need to figure out what the big picture is and make sure they're all connected. I will now, since I saw the hand being raised, so I'll just quickly dwell upon this, that when we talk about Ladli, again, like when we say a Kisan, what we see is a man. But when we talk about Ladli, we see a little girl. But I think we need to think about the entire age group. We are talking about women, we are talking about men in a woman's world, and vice versa. So let's not look at any specific age group when we work on this. I end with some food for thought. we've been talking about gender, and frankly, the development sector has not been able to crack this concept of gender in a way that people understand. And here is a great opportunity for you to help us do our job, to decode it, get away from this term gender, make it simple to understand. And we have been talking to this about everyone, and it has not worked. You need to tell us where we are going wrong. Who do we need to speak with? Do we not speak to the doctors and speak with someone else? Do we change our tack? And there has to be a communication logic. For instance, I may say something to you, and you may raise your hand, but if I don't see your hand, it doesn't help. So what will be the logic? And this Beti Bachao, someone out here, please give us an option to convince the government to throw this out of the window. Because this is terrible. This is about we, powerful people, helping those little girls. And let's be gender neutral. Let's not get a man into every kitchen. That's not what we want. But next time we see a boy playing, we shouldn't think that why isn't a girl there, or a girl playing, we shouldn't feel why is a boy not there. Both should come equally and naturally. And we need to maximize a share of voice. If all of us are thinking of an individual campaign, the campaign will be over once the budgets are over. What is that handle that everyone will take on? What will be the common stance, that platform which everyone, NGOs, government, various agencies, even campaigns which are not on the subject but on Pepsis and Horlicks use, is something we need to know. Otherwise, we will continue doing what we've been doing for so many years and not go anywhere. Thank you so much.